Well, howdy everyone. Welcome to we are Tuesday. Callie, nearing the end of July already, so that's scary and exciting at the same time. Today we're talking about bridging the gap, and it's been a conversation that I've had with several different business owners over the last little bit, and so I thought we'd talk about it. Couple of articles that we've shared. One, I believe, is a CNN article, and then one I was reading last night as part of Business Week, really just talking about the sheer amount of people that did apply for things like the PPP and the EIDL, and how many people have received and who and where. And it is both an interesting situation that so many, I think the stat that I read this morning was 8 million small business owners have applied. And the guesstimate is that about half have received funding either through PPP or the EIDL, and that they still have, I think they've awarded like 130 billion. They still have 230 billion to left to be awarded. But the sheer volume, is just astronomical. I think I was talking well before we got to 8 million contacts I have with the SBA, and basically was helping us understand that the amount of loans processed was equivalent to about 10 years worth of loans processed in the past. So even like past natural disasters, which is what the EIDL has been geared to support in the past, they may award 11 million or 22 million, depending on the situation. And right now we're talking about, what was that, $360 billion. It's just astronomical, the difference in it. But it's interesting to me, and it's a shame that there's so much disparity in who receives the funding. And as I'm reading these articles, and I know like the article in Business Week was talking about in Cleveland and the dollars awarded per capita for predominantly white and then predominantly African American communities. And one of the things that I knew, just because I don't know, I pay attention to this stuff, I'm a bit of a business geek, is that same disparity actually exists in revenue size. And if a lot of these loans are being done by revenue size, I can see how the correlation would play out across the time by revenue size. And I spoke for the Greater Southwest Black Chamber of Commerce. I believe that was the name, several years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And so I was doing my research basically, and one of the statistics that I saw was that an African American owned business earns basically a quarter to the dollar compared to a woman owned business. So there's still this caste system that is one that I would love to just bash and demolish. But the honest truth is it's complicated because it's a lot of our own beliefs, especially around money. It's a lot of our own beliefs, and those beliefs have been influenced by our experiences, our culture, our heritage, the people that surround us, the society as a whole. Like, it's very multi-layered. It's not so easy to say this is the thing you need to fix and that makes it all work, right? It's more like we're, like my necklace today. So it's a real fine chain. And I just had a child walk in. So it's a really fine chain, but it was in a knot. And so it took me a little bit of time to unknot it. That's where I feel like we are in situations. So we've got funding, right? And I was watching the Small Business Committee earlier this week or the end of last week go through their hearings and what they're talking. And there's talk of more, although I think we've seen we need a lot more clarity in where things go and how they get distributed, so that we have more equity in that. But if you look at it really and truly, that money was meant to bridge a gap. And bridge a gap that no one, I don't think, could imagine would have lasted as long as it is. And so one of the things that we're talking about in the Thrive and Flourish Challenge is how do you bridge gap? And as I'm chatting with people and I'm listening to them talk about their cash flow and what they're worried about and where they're trying to go and what they don't know and what they do know, all that conversation, I want to start talking about, because there's a phrase that I've had in my business forever. And at first it was for me, just to keep me reminded. And now I really have it to where I share it with every time I speak, and I'm going to share it with you today. And that's the concept that before, with every shift and every pivot, we actually create a gap in our own business. Just saying.
Dang it, Mom.
It's real.
I was trying to sneak out.
He was trying to sneak out as he like pulling himself out of the room. My gosh. How many more months of this? Which is another interesting gap, right? So it's every shift and pivot that we do in our business, we create a gap in it. So our economy and our world right now has put us into a gap that we didn't see coming. And then as we're shifting and pivoting, we're actually we could potentially create more of a gap, right? Because you've only got one attention span and it can only really be on one thing. And so it tends to be that when we put our brain and our intention on things that could drive our business forward, we tend to take it off of the things that are driving our business forward, if that makes sense. So we create gaps in the business. So I think it's really interesting to think about what it is that you need to be gapping, minding the gap, if you will, in relationship to what we put in the post. Please mind the gap. Mind the gap. It just cracks me up. It's so cheesy. But where are the gaps that you need to mind in your own business? And how are you going to do that? I've been a huge proponent of applying for everything and anything possible right now because there's just too much unknown. But what other things can you be doing in your business to actually bridge the gap between where you are today and where you would like to grow to? Because we've got to think about the fact that we're really in a marathon. This is, I was talking to a couple business owners this morning, and she was saying, I've already told my company we're not going to be in person until spring at the earliest. And I'm like, wow, that's a big, bold move. Now they happen to be doing fine in the transition and surprising to the business owner, right? But I think people are settling into the fact that this is just going to take time. So we really need to make sure that you can buy time and use some interesting strategies to do that. So I will, I'll probably talk a little bit about innovative ways you can do that, cash generation that's interesting. But I really think there's this core concept of getting down to the essence of what it is that you do best and looking for those opportunities to do it in ways you would never think of doing before or never think to do again after this. And so I share that there was one point in time in my business when I was going to write my book over here, right? Gonna write the book, 43,000 words. A lot of words, a lot of effort. But I knew that this initiative that I really felt compelled to do was going to take me away from doing other things that I might do in my business. So I took a short-term gig, if you will, that could produce some good cash, and did that gig and did the gig twice, I think 2 years. I think I did it 2 years, but then it didn't serve my needs and my goals that I had in my business. So I didn't do it again. It's okay to do those things right now. It's okay to say, hey, I need to buy some time over here. So let me go use my skill set to support another business who's thriving, right? And then I can know that I've got some cash coming in the door, and I can take the time to be able to do what it is that I need to do to be able to grow my business forward. So that's kind of what we're talking about. And really one of the things, not what I wanted to do. One of the things that I would encourage you to join us for the 5-day challenge, the Thrive and Flourish challenge, where we're just going to be talking about different ways to actually bridge the gap. I think day 1 for sure is a lot about cash generation, and more than just finding new clients, because that's the obvious way, but there's a lot of other ways that you can generate cash in a business. And I'm going to be sharing, I think, 21 strategies on how to do that. And so I really would love it if you joined it. We had a whole handful of people join us over the evening. We've got 5 more days before registration close. So just get in and take advantage of that. So you can get the link in the post, or you can take down this. I can even, I know at times it lets me copy and paste, but I'll post it in the comments as well. So I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you're thinking about how to mind your own gaps in the business for the next coming months, if not a full year, and really understand that we can come through this being stronger. We can come through this and have a thriving, profitable business. And I promise you, it'll serve you so much better than how it served you in the past. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you're having a beautiful day. I hope it's profitable. And until tomorrow, we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks so much.